Hello. I wanted to try something a little bit different, so I'm going to be doing a bit of a tour of all the games in my collection and do a brief sort of a little short summary of how I feel about them so far and how far I've got into them. So, starting with PS2 games, I have Dot Hack Infection. The only Dot Hack game I've actually beaten. Quite fun. I quite like the MMO thing it has going on. It's quite a laugh, but I haven't really gone back to it for a long time because I've only got the first two games and the other two are insanely expensive. So maybe I'll go back to that series when I finally get all four of them. But for now, this one, and of course, Mutation. The reason I never got Outbreak or Quarantine was because I got stuck in Mutation against the Cubia boss fight, because that was a ridiculous fight with a ludicrous thing you had to do. We had to take out the kind of core, but there's a lot of like other little things fighting you at the same time, and it was quite an overwhelming fight that I never managed to get past, which is a shame, but it was otherwise quite fun. The next one in the list, of course, is this demo disc. Just some random games, some of them I've played, some of them I haven't. 13, which I put here, even though it technically begins with an X because it's a number, partially just to annoy you because it's in alphabetical order. So I did that purely to be annoying. It's a fun game. I got right close to the end of it, but got stuck on one of the later levels, and then kind of grew disheartened with the idea of beating it when I found out it was stuck on a cliffhanger that would never be resolved. Aggressive Inline. Quite a lot of fun, not very good at it, never got very far into it, got a few levels in, but at a certain point I just get completely stuck. But I might return to it. A lot of these games are ones I'm planning on returning to if I haven't already beaten them. Alter Echo, quite a lot of fun. I beat this one. Quite difficult at times, but it has some other interesting moments and really interesting ideas when it comes to its combat and its setting, and I really like the kind of sort of pseudo cliffhanger it ends on, because it's not quite a cliffhanger. It's more kind of the main story is ended, but there's kind of room for more story to be told if they wanted to in that world. So I don't mind that kind of cliffhanger. Here we have Ark Twilight the Spirits. I really like the story of this one. The gameplay is quite satisfying with the way the sort of pseudo RTS thing kind of works turn-based strategy obviously, but the way that kind of works with the like certain attacks firing through multiple enemies at once sort of thing is quite fun. I got right close to the end of the game, got right to the final form of the final boss and got completely stuck because the boss became ridiculous, because the first part of the fight was really easy, and all of a sudden the second one starts throwing all these ads in there that you have to get through to weaken the boss, but each ad has like 2,000 health and half my characters couldn't do anywhere near enough damage to keep up with them, and they just kept spawning in, getting more and more ridiculous. I might give that game another go with more heavy grinding so I can make sure I'm much stronger at the end of the game to make sure I can actually keep up with the damage race that ends up being, but I quite like the way the story was going. I quite like the whole thing with all the characters sort of on both sides being unable to stop war criming each other long enough to actually start getting along, as the spirits keep telling them they need to get along because otherwise the world's going to end. Of course they can't get along because they keep war criming each other and so keep radicalizing each other worse and worse, and so of course it just kind of all falls apart. The only time they actually come together is literally for the actual final boss, which is hilarious to me really. It's just like, I love the way that story goes because it's frustrating in a very real way, in a very deliberate way. Next I have Atelier Iris Grand Phantasm, the only Atelier game I've ever beaten, or ever played actually. It's quite fun though. I really like the way the story went and everything like that, and the cutesy style was very fun. I just never got around to getting into the Atelier games. Baroque, played briefly, never got very far into because it was a very weird game, one that I keep meaning to get around to getting further in, but I just never do. And I just have so many other games to play, I just never go back to it. But I quite like its style. I like how weirdly bleak it is, and the whole randomized maze thing is done in a very fun way in that particular version of the engine of that type of game. Beyond Good and Evil, classic game. I beat that ages ago, and was kind of looking forward to the sequel. It was kind of a shame the sequel went a bit wonky, and I don't know if anything ever really came of it. But I really like the first game, although it ends on one of the more frustrating kinds of cliffhangers where it just kind of stops the story and leaves you kind of wondering, well, what's this then? Bionicle Heroes, kind of an game. I started playing it a few times but never got very far into it because it just doesn't really grasp my interest, which is a shame because it has some interesting ideas. It kind of just feels like a Lego game but from behind the shoulder, really, when it comes to its gameplay. So that feels very kind of just not strong enough to keep me interested for too long. Black never played because I was never that good at shooters in general, and I never really got around to actually trying to play that one a bit further. So I played briefly, never got very far into it because again I'm not really good at shooters. Might get around to it at some point though because it seemed I quite like the whole thing with the live action cutscenes. That was quite fun. Blood Omen 2. I played the original Blood Omen on PS1 emulator. That was quite fun. But here's Blood Omen 2. Never beaten this one, but it was an interesting one. I quite like the story of the Blood Omen games in general, and of course, in this I also have another one that's going to come up in a later part of the thing. I'm doing this in alphabetical order, and not necessarily series order, so there is another Blood Omen game, but it's not actually called Blood Omen, so it comes later. For now, here's the Bouncer. Quite a fun one. I've beaten that one before, 2 of the stories at least, and then the 3rd story got too hard for me to actually finish off, which is a shame, because I really like its style. It's a fun beat 'em up, and it's just kind of... It's fun that it's just kind of Final Fantasy, but in a beat 'em up format. So that's just an amusing thing for me. And of course, Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter, covered in game stickers, but that's what this is, Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter. Never got very far into it. Got a few loops in once, but never really was able to get to the end of it because it just kind of, well again, it just got distracted by other games, which is a shame, but fair enough. Can's Kind of Edit, FKA Bully, really like that one. Amusingly, it actually kind of fits in this particular alphabetical order no matter where it ends up coming because it's either the last B game or the first C game, which is amusing really. But it's a really fun story. I really love the character of the villain Gary. He's a wonderful arsehole. I just love the way he plays everything out and the way he kind of... and also Jimmy Hopkins is one of the more likeable GTA characters as well. A lot of the other GTA characters can be quite turds, so it's nice to have one that's actually a nice guy who's just doing his best. Carmen Sandiego, Secret of the Stolen Drums. Fun little platformer. I quite like the way the story is told, because it's got a lot of fun little thing where the protagonist, Corey or whatever, isn't it, Cole, is told not to go after Carmen Sandiego, and of course he does because he's the protagonist, and the chief of the company he works for, Acme or whatever, gets annoyed with him about that at first, but then as the story is going on, she actually starts getting more and more into it, so she's like, oh, and then what happened? So I really like the way that plays out, and the whole thing with Carmen's, like, nature is quite fun as well, how chaotic she is when it comes to, like, she's kind of playing with Cole a few times, like sometimes, like at one point he's looking to a binocular looking for her, but then she's looking at him to her own binoculars. Yeah, little things like that, they're just fun. The style of that game is a lot of fun. Chaos Legion, never really played. It was one of the earlier types of like Dynasty Warriors, kind of big army kind of games, but all of the Actually, I think that was a different thing I was thinking of. I don't think I've actually played Chaos Legion yet. I think I was thinking of a different game that was the RTS, not that was the kind of a Dynasty Warriors-ish thing. Never actually got around to Chaos Legion. Keep meaning to get around to it though. Seemed interesting when I bought it. Cold Fear, beat that. It's quite fun. It's basically Resident Evil 4 on a boat, but because it's not over the shoulder, it can be a little bit harder to aim than with Leon in Resident Evil 4. But it's still a lot of fun though. Constantine. Fun game, I beat that one too. It's a fun sort of, I really like the way it adapts the plot to story, and the final boss with Gabriel's quite fun as well, and it's got a lot of charm to it, and the levels have quite a bit of variety in how the objectives play out, so that was just generally a fun shooter. First Dark Cloud, beat that a while ago, had quite a lot of fun with it, although the fusion system can be quite frustrating. I really like the way the town building works, because it feels very much like you're actually building a town that people live in, because like the actual houses have unique shapes to them, and so it doesn't just look like you're actually just putting random stuff in places. It feels like you're actually building a house that these people want to live in this village, because they're all like, oh, I want you to place this in particular in this neighbourhood because they don't like that particular villager, and that's fair enough, that's quite fun. I really enjoy that aspect of the game. It really feels very satisfying to build the towns. In contrast to this, which I never beat, but Dark Chronicle, I did find a little bit annoying because when you're doing the city building stuff, it kind of doesn't really feel like you're the one building the city, because as you're kind of hitting the checkpoints more and more, you just go into the future and a pre-built city is already there, and that's just not as interesting. And also the houses don't really feel like they're actually someone's home. You just feel like you just plonked a shack down and we're just like, there, that's good enough. You want there's a couple of pieces of fence, there's a couple of pieces of fence in just random places. It feels arbitrary when it comes to putting the houses together. It feels less like they're houses that people would actually want to live in, and more like they're just kind of council houses that just plop down there with no real thought or rhyme or reason. The only real thing you need to really focus on is making sure you're solving like the little overall things of balance all the platforms in this one gimmicky level, because also the levels were more gimmicky in the second one anyway. Never got around to beating that one, got quite far into it I think, but I just kind of stopped. This I never got that far into because I wasn't very good at it, but it's quite a lot of fun, Dead to Rights 2. It's a laugh. I keep trying to get through it, but just kind of getting stuck at certain points because it's not an easy game. Destroy All Humans. Never beat that one either. Similar reasons. It's a very chaotic game, very fun, but I'm not very good at it, so I've never been able to actually get through all the levels and things and get to the actual end of the game. Destroy All Humans 2. Never actually played that one because I never beat the first one. And I always prefer to play games in the series order. Detonator, I've done a short video on that already. It's a fun little puzzle game in which you're blowing up buildings with like Tetris-y sort of dynamite thing. It's quite a lot of fun. Definitely recommend looking into it if you ever find it. Original Devil May Cry, not very good at this game at all. I've never been able to get very far into it. The furthest I've ever got is Phantom years ago, but then when I tried to replay it, I got completely stuck on the very first boss against the big lava crab thingy. Disgaea, Hour of Darkness. A very charming game, one I never got very far into though, because I'm not very good at strategy games, especially turn-based ones. Although I quite like Lahal's chaotic nature, it's just not a genre I'm very good at. Chicken Little, Ace in Action. Quite a fun Chicken Little game based off the movie, at the end of the movie, starring Adam West. And quite amusingly, it actually does star Adam West as the actual voice actor for Chicken Little throughout the game, and that's quite fun. And it's genuinely got some very funny moments in the story as well. It's got some quite fun, like, space shooty bits, and some very varied levels, and some kind of fun boss fights, and the writing is genuinely funny at times as well. So I definitely recommend checking that out. It's not like the other Chicken Little game that kind of gets made fun of quite a lot online. It's just a kind of standard telling the story of the movie kind of a game. This is very different, and it does its own little thing, and it's just having fun. Donald Duck's Quack Attack. Haven't played this version of it, but I have bought the PS1 version for my younger brother and recently beaten that. The PS1 version is quite fun. I'll probably get to that one when I reach the PS1 games in my collection. But for now, I haven't played this version. Probably will eventually. It's probably going to be the same as the PS1 one, but a bit more souped up. Dragon Ball Z Infinite World. Never got very far into it because unless you're playing on very, very easy, the game is very, very hard. Because even trying to play on the easy mode, I remember getting my ass kicked by the first few characters in the game. It is fun though. I quite like the little levels where you're just running around and in like an open world, or when you're running on Snake Way. That's quite fun. I just haven't played it very much because the boss fights are hard. Digital Devil Saga, quite charming. I beat this one. It's a very interesting game, very interesting story. I quite like the bleak atmosphere. And it's just kind of fun to play in general as well. It's got a very simple battle system, but it works pretty well. It's Digital Devil. It's Shin Megami Tensei. Digital Devil Saga 2. Never beat this one. I got stuck at that one point when you're in the prison and there's that one weird teleporting monster after you. I couldn't get past that, which is very annoying because I was still enjoying the story. Bolt, you know this one. I've done an LP of it already on the Xbox, but still. I've played both versions and they're both pretty fun. It's just a fun little story. It's like in the universe of the story within the movie within the movie, and that's quite a fun little TV show, I guess, within the movie. And it's done very well. It's got a lot of very fun moments and some fun bits of visual comedy with some of Bolt's powers, so that's very entertaining as well. Cars. Never really got very far into it. I just didn't really get around to it very much. I've heard it's fun, but I've just never got far enough into it to get to that bit. The Haunted Mansion. Of course, I've LP'd this one. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a very fun game. Kind of a precursor to Luigi's Mansion. I say precursor, but it was kind of the first game. I wouldn't say first game like it, potentially, because there might be other games I'm not aware of or that I'm forgetting about, but it's definitely got that kind of style to it. And it's just got a lot of very fun, like, puzzles that you go through, because I quite like each room being its own unique puzzle. That's why Let's played it. Kim Possible, What the Switch. This one's quite a fun one because Kim and Shigo have to work together because Dr. Draken and One Supplement with their brains switched. Kind of a fun story, and it's a very cute little platform in general as well, with some quite difficult parts. Monsters Inc. Scare Island. Quite a simple one. There's a PS1 version as well. This is a very basic game, just wandering around through the levels, scary. These are all like simulation of children, but the levels are cute, and there's these very fun little like races with Randall between some of the levels as well. And it's just a fun time. Very simple but fun. Piglet's Big Game. This one's quite entertaining. It's essentially Piglet kind of going into one of the other characters' dreams and using his kind of like building up his own courage within those dreams by helping them solve their problems and making himself more confident. It's a very fun idea, and you keep collecting new like scary faces for Piglet to pull to scare off the heffalumps and woozles, and it's a very entertaining idea. It also has some surprisingly interesting ideas when it comes to how certain characters are perceived as well. Like, I really like how Eeyore's dream involves his house being like really elaborate, because that's how he thinks of his house. He loves his house. His house is his castle. So when you're in his tiny little stick house at the beginning of the level, and you go into this little basement level you unlock, suddenly it's this massive castle, because that's how Eeyore sees his world. And similarly, Tigger has a little thing where he's actually like very anxious because he's hiding in a cabin because in his dream his stripes have been stolen, and he's embarrassed and worried that other people start making fun of him for it. Which is an interesting idea. I quite like the idea that rather than Tigger being overconfident and Eeyore being depressed, it's more Eeyore's more kind of content, and Tigger's a lot more insecure and desperate to be liked, hence his loudness. Disney Princess Adventure, Enchanted Journey. Kind of fun. I played it briefly. I think I've beaten it. It's quite a fun game though. It's just, I don't really remember much about it though. It's there. Ratatouille. Played it, quite fun. It's got some really interesting levels in which you pass out and end up in these weird like dream sequences where you're running around in elaborate sequences of dancing food. Those are very fun, and it's got some very fun platforming there, and it's got some really funny ideas of how the story is told as well. There's a few chase sequences with Chef Skinner, and the last one involves him destroying the restaurant, which is hilarious really, because it's just like such an escalation from the movie. Also, it's got some very satisfying collectibles where you collect things that, when you collect all of them, it helps you upgrade the sewer for the rats, so that's quite nice. Experiment 626. Quite a fun one. It's very kind of, Stitch moves very quickly and he jumps very high, so that can be very hard to control him. I got stuck at one of the later bosses, about 2/3 of the way through the game I think. I just couldn't get past him, and that was very frustrating, but other than that, very good levels and very fun, very chaotic gameplay. Dino Stalker. I bought it purely because of the tagline, Decimate Prehistory. That's a brilliant tagline. It's a rail shooter in which you're shooting dinosaurs. Quite simple, but it's got some really funny ideas, and it just keeps escalating the plot as well. Like, it's like, oh, we're back in time, and there's like, no, we're not back in time, we're in cyberspace. because the entire setting of the whole thing is a kind of Noah's Ark, where the scientists were trying to save the dinosaurs by digitizing them. So you're basically in like this digital Noah's Ark of like a slice of prehistory. It's a funny idea, and it's completely insane. And it just keeps escalating. It's brilliant. Deus Ex, never played very far into it, but I've heard it's really good. I just didn't really get that into it myself. Dog's Life, thoroughly enjoyed it. Has surprising amounts of story hidden within some of the areas. I've just, of course, done the full Let's Play of it. Echo the Dolphin, Defender of Earth's Future. This one's quite an interesting one, but I got completely stuck because there's a really hard level really early on where you're kind of in this dark cave where there's not much oxygen, and that's the problem because you're dolphins, you need to keep surfacing, but there's nowhere to surface, so you need to keep going from little oxygen point to oxygen points, and it's a big maze and it's really hard to navigate. I could not get through it at all, even following a walkthrough. Frustrating because I really wanted to see the later levels, because it's got some really interesting names to the levels, like Human's Nightmare and Dolphin's Nightmare. I really wanted to see what would happen there. So I keep meaning to try and get around to getting past that level. It's just a hard game. Eve of Extinction. Quite fun, very big like anime sort of a story where you just kind of like, you get quite like that each boss gives you a new weapon to play with, and then you can do New Game Plus on a harder difficulty with the weapons fully leveled up, and then New Game Plus actually gets you new collectibles for storytelling stuff, and that's pretty cool. It's got some really fun bosses in general as well. It's just an entertaining game, although not an easy one. Eternal Ring, which has a cute little tagline on the back, "Who said fantasies had to be final?" Obviously making fun of the Final Fantasy games. Which is fun. Eternal Ring, it's one of those... well, it's a first-person game that's sort of from the Kingsfield series. It's from... I think it's from Software. I keep saying from on purpose there, by accident, but it turns out pretty well. But yeah, you're on the No Return, and all you have are magic rings to protect yourself from giant monsters. It's quite entertaining. Never got very far though. I got a decent chunk into it and got stuck. Eternal Quest. It's just a dungeon crawler where it's just kind of a randomised dungeon. Never got many floors into it, and it gets quite samey after a while because it's just go into a dungeon, fight some enemies, inevitably die, and just rinse and repeat. There's not really much it does that I got to, at least when it comes to storytelling, which is a shame. Extermination. Never got very far into this game either. I barely started it, but it had some interesting ideas. I just got very stuck very early on because I wasn't playing it right or something like that. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I just made a bit of a mess. Everblue. A rather charming little game where you're kind of deep sea diving and just exploring this whole little coastal town. It's got some very fun little side quests with other characters in the town you're in that want you to find certain things when you're underwater. And it's got some very interesting ideas, like a sunken ship that you can only find by following a bunch of porcelain plates by using like a special kind of device that you get to find porcelain buried in sand. And of course, if you pick up the porcelain plates, you break the trail, so you have to be kind of careful there. There's some quite clever ideas there. A bit of a frustrating thing was I at one point couldn't 100% it because there was this one race I needed to do. I was able to beat the game, I think, but there was this one race I wasn't able to complete because I got a diving suit that was too good, which meant I was moving too quickly and couldn't corner well enough. So at least I know for next time I play the game that when they get to that point, before buying that upgrade, make sure to do the race first, so that I'm with a slightly slower but more controllable scuba suit. But it's quite entertaining though. Evil Dead, Fistful of Boomstick. Quite a laugh. Never really got very far into it because it's not an easy game. It's just kind of wandering around a big area, blowing stuff up and shooting things, and of course I don't recall if there's any real checkpoints, but it's a difficult game, but quite a fun one that Bruce Campbell personally actually enjoyed helping develop as well. And there's a lot of cute few little behind-the-scenes interviews with him playing the game and doing little voice acting things. It's an adorable time. Evil Twin, Cyprian's Chronicles. This is an interesting one, but one I never got very far into because it's a very difficult platformer. But it's got kind of like a wonderfully ugly sort of an art style that I really enjoy. It's an interesting world. It's just kind of a bit of a mess when it comes to what games are like, really, sometimes. Fahrenheit, or Indigo Prophecy, as some people might know it. It's okay. It's storytelling, it's a mess, but it's a fun mess, and I enjoyed it. Well, it was David Cage's first game, so it's kind of the start of an era there. Fantastic Four. It's a fairly simple beat-em-up game, but I had some fun with it. Not really much you can say about it, really. It follows the plot of the movie. It's just a fairly basic movie tie-in game. Fantavision. This is something special. It's like a rhythm game with a bunch of fireworks. You have to kind of like connect different coloured fireworks so they blow up in a certain way to get high scores. It's not easy. It's a difficult game because it can be very visually overwhelming. But it's quite a lot. It's quite fun. And it's a very interesting idea. It's just difficult. Final Fantasy X. Classic game, very fun. I really enjoy the story. Of course, I've beaten it, and also played it on the remake as well. Though I never completed the remake because I got stuck in the weeds trying to do all the Blitzball stuff. That was my fault. But it's still quite a lot of fun. I really enjoy Seymour Guado. He's a wonderful arsehole. And I love the whole thing with just like how Tidus just gets more and more frustrated with him the more he comes up. We're just like, oh, stay up there! It's brilliantly fun. 10-2. Never beat this one because it's not. Again, there's some points where you get to a certain point, the difficulty spike happens, but it's a laugh. It's fun, and I quite like the big difference in tone because the whole idea, of course, is the world of Spirit is now like released from this cycle of death, and it's just having as much fun as it can, and that's fair enough. Can't begrudge it for having as much fun as it can after the literal hell it's been through. Final Fantasy 12. Quite fun. I quite like the story of it. I really like Vayne Solo as a villain. I quite like the whole thing with him sort of ending up not quite in control of himself. Like by the time he's going through his boss transformations, he's in so much pain. It's like it's clearly not him that wanting to be like this anymore. He just wants it all to be over at that point, which I find quite fun. Forbidden Siren. Never got very far into it. It's a very difficult game and very scary, and it's just kind of because of the weird gimmicks it has. I can't know how it goes because I've seen the Let's Play of it. I've never been able to get very far into it myself. From Russia with Love. I've beaten this one. It's quite fun. It has little Bond moments where you do like really elaborate, fun stunts and stuff like that. And it's a fun take on like a Bond game. It's a fun little shooter with the Bond moments to give it some personality to make it quite fun. Freak Out, otherwise known as Stretch Panic. This one's amusing. The whole idea is it's a bit of a weird one. It's kind of infamously weird because the whole thing is like, oh, this little girl and her sisters get taken over by the demons of vanity. And of course that kind of means that each of them sort of is kind of a bit psychosexual, but not quite, because it's like some of the things are more just kind of indulging in their obsessions in a non-sexual way. Like one of them's an opera singer, she really enjoys singing, so her whole thing is like trying to kind of get through this shell that she's built around herself that's sort of like a Queen of the Night dress, sort of an opera thing. That's a very cool visual thing. There's a pyromaniac who's just kind of, now she's able to breathe fire, and there's a monster who is a girl that's so obsessed with horror movies that she's become a monster so terrifying you can't even let her in the room with you lest you die of fright. Very fun idea. The overall way you actually deal with everything in the game is by gripping it, pulling it by, and then releasing it. Literally stretching the environment to snap things into place. And for example, there's this one boss that fires missiles at you, and you pull the tip of the missiles and snap it back so the missiles turn back against the boss. That's kind of a cool idea. That's a really weird mechanic of exercising the sisters, where when you're when you're doing damage to each of the sisters, you can also you need to kind of grab them at certain ways with like holding down the thumbsticks and like one of the shoulder buttons or something like that. It's a very weird mechanic visually. It's very hard to do comfortably. The whole is you have to kind of like hold it until you rip the demon out of them, and then when you actually defeat them, they stay permanently defeated, and that's how you actually play the game. You exercise each of the sisters as you're fighting them so that they can't be possessed again. But it's quite a fun idea though. It's just got some really dumb ideas as well. Though, like these, there's this one level you only go to grind for points so you can unlock boss levels, which is completely irrelevant. You don't really need to. That shouldn't even be part of the game. It's just kind of busy work. And all it really does is unlock the bosses, which they should have just unlocked anyway over time. But it allows you to do this in any order. But like the bit that makes it a bit like is the women, all the monsters in that particular thing are the same woman with that massive. And it's obviously it's kind of like playing it for laughs because it's like if they fall off a thing, their boobs actually flatten and spin around like helicopter blades, letting them fly around, and they have these tiny little heads because the whole. It's just kind of the entire joke, and it's a dumb joke that a lot of people take in a very. It's a wonky idea, but it's a funny, like, it's obviously trying to play it for laughs, it's just they take the joke a bit too far, but I quite like the idea of the non-sexual aspects of the game. It's got some really fun ideas with the way the vanity is portrayed. Freedom Fighters. Never got very far into this one, also never beat Stretch Panic, but like I never got very far into this one because I got to this certain point where it seems like the checkpoints stopped working because there's this one point where I need to take a helipad. I took the helipad, then went to a different mission to do a little thing in there, and then when I went back to the helipad mission, the helipad was now untaken. And that was quite frustrating because in every other previous level, you take a thing and it stays yours, and that's your territory from that point on. So the fact that Freedom Fighters ended up like losing territory randomly on me for no reason, I found that quite frustrating, and it's the reason I never beat the game because it also just it gets very hard very quickly. Free running. I've done a let's play of this on Insetic 47's channel. It's quite fun. It's a free running simulator. It's similar to kind of Tony Hawk but on foot, and it's got quite a lot of fun ideas. Like, I really like that the tutorial is done by the actual like guy that invented free running. I've forgotten his name now. Andre something, I think. So Sebastian Foucault or something like that. Let me just double check actually. Yeah, Sebastian Foucault, that's his name. So yeah, like he actually is the tutorial guy, Sebastian Foucault, and also he's the final boss, where when you get to the last of the actual missions you unlock, it's a race with him, but it's actually in the very first area. It's using that very first area in much more difficult ways by having you trick off literally everything. That's quite fun. It's got a fun sense of escalation, like jumping across massive cranes on the docks and stuff like that. It's got a lot of very fun levels. Some levels are a bit more annoying than others to navigate, but it's got a lot of heart to it, and it's having a lot of fun, and it's just an entertaining game. This is aged. I mean, Fur Fighters, it's aged badly. It's because some of the characters are racist stereotypes. Like, there's this one character who's like meant to be Chinese, but he's very kind of a stereotypical Chinese accent kind of a guy. And it's just Also, it's a very difficult game. I have beaten it. It's quite fun, but it's very difficult. It's got a lot of variety to it, though. So overall, I enjoyed it. It's just got some moments where it's just kind of a bit. The Getaway Black Monday. Never got around to this one really. I keep meaning to. I just don't play driving games very much, but I got it because it seemed interesting. You may notice I get a lot of these games from CEX. It's a treasure trove of stuff. Beaten this. I've not just beaten this one, but I've also LP'd it. Ghost Hunter. Very fun. It's got some very iconic voice actors, and while it's obvious that the budget runs out pretty much as the game goes on, you can see the budget running out, which is quite funny. Like, the first level's the most well established, and then as the levels go on, the stories get more and more piecemeal until it's just a mess of ideas that don't really go anywhere. Ghostmasters of Gravenville Chronicles. It's sort of it's kind of like a port of a PC game, where the PC game was apparently much better, and it's kind of frustrating at times, but it's got some really interesting ideas in some of the missions, like, while some of the missions are just scare all of the mortals out of the area with your ghosts, it's got some really interesting ones. Like, there's this one level I got stuck at where you have this military base, and you have to kind of like get the general to recognise that people are trying to assassinate him, so you have to kind of like lure him to people that are plotting against him and let him find the plans and stuff. It's a cool idea, that one. I like that idea of that level. I just never beat the game because it's a kind of inferior version of a PC game that I've never played, and I'm just not very good at it. God of War, the first one, wasn't really a fan. I found it kind of a little bit frustrating because it has that one stupid mission where you have to push a thing through a room and you're always being attacked by enemies and the thing constantly getting pushed back. It's the biggest pain in the ass. I mean, I preferred the reboot games, really. I mean, the original God of War trilogy, I played the first two of them, and they were okay. It's just like, they have really frustrating moments that left me kind of sour on them. And also, I just find the actual, like, bit-to-bit gameplay a little bit repetitive. I think it's because it's, like, the first games of its kind, and so, of course, other games have done things better, but, it's just one of those things where it's okay, but it being kind of like a foundational game, it means that other things are built on that foundation better. God of War 2, quite a lot of fun. It's better than the first one, but again, it's got a really frustrating moment where you're pushing that guy in the cage up a hill, and he keeps sliding down, and it's just such an annoying mission. I hate those kind of missions in those God of War games. Part of the reason I never got around to playing 3, partially because I haven't got a PS3, and I need to get like a remastered version of the game for like later consoles, but I just can't be bothered really. Because it might have one of those dumb moments. GoldenEye Elemental Force. Haven't played this game. I've heard it's infamously bad, but I've only just bought it really. I picked it up on one of my most recent Wonders of CEX, and it seemed interesting, so I'm kind of curious about how it actually plays. Because of course I'd never really listened to reviews, because it's just like, well, let me be the judge of that. You know, is it a bad game or are you playing it badly? Because sometimes I've found games that other people accuse of being bad, but then they actually turn out to be quite fun when you play them in a certain way. The Godfather, didn't get very far into this, but it's an interesting little sort of GTA clone sort of thing. God Hand, never got very far into it, but it's one of the developers from Okami's like first games. I've played a little bit of it, but it's just really difficult, and I've never really got that into it, which is a shame because I keep meaning to get around to it. I've seen Let's Plays of it and stuff. It's just not a game I've really got around to getting very far into. Godzilla Save the Earth, kind of amusing. Basically, just a big beat 'em up where you're not even beat 'em up. It's an arena fighter where, of course, you are fighting other massive monsters. Or the kaijus, that's the term, throughout cities. I got stuck at this one guy that had like drill hands that drilled around underground because I couldn't get through him. Because I think at that point either the AI had got that difficult or I just like, that was the point in the game where I just stopped being able to get any further. GoldenEye Rogue Agent, didn't get very far into this one, I don't think I've really played it very much. But I kind of like the whole, like, it's got some interesting sounding ideas. I just never got around to playing Rogue Agent. I keep meaning to, again, all these games, I keep meaning to try and get around to beating them. It's just some of them I either get stuck, or I just haven't got around to yet, because I've got a billion other things to play. GTA 3, got very far into it. I got to that one really annoying mission, where you have to invade that, like, construction site towards the end, and it's really difficult, because it's a combat-heavy level, and this game does not do combat well. The combat in this game is terrible, and so that means that part of the game is just, like, unplayable. I was never able to get past that bit. It's a nightmare. Got the Theft Vice City. Never got around to this either, but I never really beat any of these classic GTA games. I have them, but I've just never really played them very much, because just generally the controls, it's not aged well. The controls are very wonky, and again, it's just the same with the GTA 3. It's just kind of not really vibed with me very much with the older games because I'm just not very good at them. I've never really figured them out. GTA San Andreas, I got further in than the other classic GTA games. I got to that point where you get to that big like country area in the second part of the game, and then I got stuck at this one race where it was like one of the other vehicle races, but you have to kind of do the same track backwards. I just couldn't get that through that race, so I'd never be able to beat that. I don't know why, I was kind of enjoying the story of that one with Officer Tenpenny. That was an interesting idea. Grandia 2, I beat that one. It's quite fun. I really enjoy Elena and Millennia's back and forth and everything like that, and how Millennia kind of grows into finding her humanity. It's a very fun game. It's a very fun story, and it's got some really interesting, very grotesque boss fights I really enjoy as well. It's just a fun time. Gregory Horror Show. Never got very far into it. I've got like as far as getting Catherine's soul, and then Judgment Boy shows up, and things then get complicated, and I just never got very far beyond that. Which is a shame because it's an interesting idea, and it's fun to explore the hotel and stuff. It's just not one I've ever really got very far into, because it's very kind of a setup heavy game. Gumball 3000, this one's kind of an amusing one. It's a racing game where you're kind of like doing a big kind of like a 24-hour shot around the entire US sort of a thing, I think is the idea. Yeah, it's like you drive 3,000 miles like in like 14 races sort of a thing, but I've never been able to beat the first race because I'm not very good at racing games. But it's an amusing idea though. Gun. Quite fun. I quite like that the final boss is basically Cowboy Iron Man. That's quite funny. You have to blow it up with dynamite because he's impervious to bullets because he's in a suit of armour. It's a silly idea, that, but it's a funny enough game with some interesting like side quests and stuff like that. There's a surprising amount of side content actually that I didn't expect. Like the whole ranch side quest is quite interesting. And that's kind of that's all the games from A to G so far. I guess technically from punctuation to G. So, the next video, I'll be talking about the games that are from H onwards. So, join me then as I continue my exploration through my tour rather through my game collection. Goodbye. I would like to thank James Rossi for supporting me on Patreon as my Bio-Enchanted leg tier. I really hope other people can also join my Patreon to help support my channel and help improve the amount of resources I have for making better videos and being able to put more time into more elaborate thumbnails and title cards and things like that. Because I'd like to be able to have more time to really work on those kind of visual aspects beyond the actual video itself. Thank you.